your family? And he asked him, well, what happened to Olsen, Germany? He says, well, when the war broke out, when the city was destroyed, all the members of the church had already migrated to Milwaukee, Wisconsin. There wasn't any members in Olsen, Germany anymore when the city was destroyed.
Oh, good.
And it's kind of it's a real special thing when you think about how the Lord is really protecting his saints when they have a desire to go to the United States. Mm-hmm. You know, and our grandfather was one of the first men who came to Milwaukee. And it was just kind of a coincidence, you know, of how the saints, they were so interested in moving to a better country where they can work, and they worked and sent the money back, and then as a result, you know, the branch in Olsen was a branch in Milwaukee, Wisconsin with the same members of the church there.
Where in Wisconsin?
In Milwaukee.
Milwaukee?
Yeah.
Hmm.
That's where our mother was born. And then when she was a senior in high school, they moved out to California.
Let me get out of this.
So this is where we get the height to Germany.
You threw me a curveball when I said coming up the street.
And
That's not the one.
so our grandfather, he was a brick mason. So he worked on the LA temple too.
No kidding.
When they needed brick masons to build the temple. So. And we fool a lot of people when they see us for the first time.
So this is Clarence Don Long Nani Kim Loy Sung.
What's
Alright? And I'm going to go to
It's really long. Everybody knows who needs that.
You need one more word because seven is a good lucky number. We only got 6 names there.
Alright, so we have down here Clarence Don Lau Nani Kim Loy Sung and Mary Momoye Komaru. Alright? And here we have Clarence Don Lau Nani Kim Loy Sung, and we have Chung Suk Han. And children, we have Jihan. Can we see that?
The shortest name.
Jihan. Alright. So on this side, we have Kayan Sung and Mary Ann Sung, who are the parents of Clarence Don. And then we have his siblings, Melvin Kaipole Manu Ting Yong Sung and Sarah Dorothea Momilani Sung. That's me. Okay. Alright. I wanted to bring up, I'm going to go to family tree.
So I can tell you the story I met your mother for the first time. On my first trip to Kauai, you had the fence around the house, yeah? So she.
With the plumeria trees.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So it was the first time I met her.
Really?
She came out to the house to the fence.
Yeah.
And
What? No.
Linda took me
How
back.
old were you?
Oh, I was in my 20s.
Oh.
So what? 40 years ago, right? 40.
So who took you there?
So Uncle Luther. Uncle Luther took me there to meet your mother for the first time. That was the first time I ever been to Kauai.
So you
So
got
I met your mother, I met Auntie Sarah,
Uncle Luther.
Uncle Luther, and his daughters. They were dancing the time at the. Anyway, yeah, Cookie Palms.
Okay, so the reason I wanted to review this is with Family Search, anybody can go in and put information in, and what has happened is, here, okay, this is Kayon Sung and Mary Ann. They're our parents.
Right.
Right? And grandparents, your grandparents, are Hong Chung Wong and Mary Kanani Maulo Kelikoma. Okay, so we go here, and what happens is, he's also known as Franklin.
Franklin.
So if you see that name, Manuiki Kelikoma, sometimes you will see Franklin, because at that time, when the Americans took over or came into they wanted English names, so the Hawaiians picked English names. Here, this is the one that I really have distress about, because she is Mary Mele Hanchet and not Kapalehua. So, what you see here is Lukela Kapalehua Maeva and Keoli Maika Aloha. Keoli Maika Aloha married, well, they didn't even get married, because at that time, there weren't marriage ceremonies. You just went to live with somebody. And Keoli Maika Aloha went, not on her own volition, went to Salem Hanchet. Salem Hanchet was from New Bedford, Massachusetts. He ran away from home when he was 13 years old and was on a whaling ship. He had a peg leg and red hair. And when the Hawaiians on Kauai would come and wait for him to go across Wailua River, because he would take his leg off, jump on the horse, go across the river, and put his leg back on. So that was their show for the day. And they had Mary Mele Hanchet. And in the Hanchet line, the first girl is named Mary. So we have Mary Mele Kapalehua, Mary Kanani Mauloa, and Mary Ann. And thanks goodness my mother changed it when I was born. So this is why when you go into family search, you're going to see Mary Mele Kapalehua. You're also going to see Mary Mele Maeva. Lukela Kapalehua Maeva, what happened was Keoli ran away from Salem Hanchet, and he had her put in jail. But, you know, she stayed there one night, I think, and they let her go. But she would not stay with Salem Hanchet. Salem Hanchet had families all over the place.
Oh, yeah, I remember reading that.
So he had a family on Waimea's side, and one of the boys was Salem Pauoli Hanchet. So sometimes you'll come across the record that says, that gives the father of Mary Mele Hanchet the name Salem Pauoli Hanchet. That's not Salem Hanchet from New Bedford. It is Salem Hanchet, the son, Pauoli. So
Okay.
I don't know if you've come across that, but I come across that a lot.
The Hanchet name came up a couple times. We actually were attending our mother's sister-in-law's funeral in Los Angeles, and at the table we were sitting, this one, the gal, her name was Hanchet, and she said, I have family from Hawaii. And like, so I got number, and I'm sure somewhere along the line maybe connected, yeah? I don't know.
Well, okay.
Who knows?
This Hanchet,
Yeah.
Salem Hanchet, had families
Yeah.
all over, right?
I found that out afterwards, yeah.
And one of his descendants is Lunny Hanchet, who is an Episcopalian minister. And my mother and Lunny acknowledged each other as cousin, and that was fine.
Yeah.
And he had a lovely family. So we do have Hanchet
Hanchet,
cousins,
okay.
yes.
Interesting.
So, you know, that's the way it is. So, what I am going to try to do again, and I have done this so many times, is to go in and correct. But I find, the person who submitted, I don't even know them.
Yeah.
So, Keoli Maika'aloa here, had many children with Lukela Kapalehua Maeva. Mary Millie Hanchet was raised by Lukela. Kapalehua is the name for Uncle Luther. That's his Hawaiian name,
Okay.
right? Kapalehua. Let's go to the children here. All right. See all of this, there's Mary Millie Kapalehua, but she's really a Hanchet. And so they put her Kapalehua there, and that's not correct. I remember all these names. This Sarah Lukela Kapalehua is the wife of Charles Lono Kelikoma.
Charles, yeah.
Okay, Charles Lono Kelikoma is the patriarch of the Kelikoma line. So when we had our reunion on Kauai, we called it the Kelikoma Connection, because everybody related to Charles Lono Kelikoma came to the reunion. And he and Sarah Lukela adopted many children, and one of the children adopted is Auntie Sarah.
Okay.
But he also raised my mother.
Right. During that time.
They didn't adopt her, but they raised her.
That's who I was named after, Charles Owen. That was
Right.
my father.
And, he has a long Hawaiian name. And Charles Lono Kelikoma was educated at Lahaina Luna, which was a prep school for royal children.
Oh, okay.
So Charles Lono Kelikoma was being groomed to be to take over for the Kauai royalty.
Okay.
But that never happened because of the change in government.
Right.
All right. So let me point out another name here. Emma Ka'inuvai Kapalehua. Emma, look at Ka'inuvai. I have seen records where they have put Ka'inuvai up with Mary Mele Kapalehua. Up there. Here, they've added Ka'inuvai. There is another woman named Mary Ka'inuvai. So that's not our ancestor though. But Ka'inuvai is Tutu Emma's name.
Okay.
And Ka'inuvai means, inu is to drink, vai is water. Tutu Emma raised a lot of, she had to do with raising the children. When Mary Mele Hanchet was sent to Kalaupapa, Tutu Emma went to Tutu Manuiki and took care of the children. So really, my mother knew Tutu Emma.
Mm.
She's like a grandmother to her. So, here, Emma Ka'inuvai loved her liquor. And for a bottle of whiskey, she forced Mary Kanani Maoloa to marry Chung Wong, who was older, and Chinese, didn't speak English, didn't speak Hawaiian, but he gave Emma a bottle of whiskey, and
For her hand and Mary.
Mary Kanani Maoloa had to be his wife.
How old was she? Do you know? How old was she?
She was about 20, 18, 19, 20. She already had someone she loved, and she was beautiful, you
Picture.
saw the picture of her, right?
Yep.
That, from this marriage, of course, came all of our
Family.
parents, right? So, they had a lot of children, but my mother said that, her mother was never happy. She would sit on the porch and in the rocker and just comb her hair all day. She had long hair. But she gave away, Chinese style, you don't like girls. So he gave away the girls. And some of the boys he kept, some went. Your dad was one of the younger
Second to the
boys.
youngest, yep.
And he was always in trouble.
Yep.
So he went to live with Ben Ohio and was probably better off.
Yep.
So, Uncle Clarence, he really wasn't raised with the rest of the family either, but they became close when they were grown up.
Right, after they got older, yeah, they were all separated.
So-
How old was your mother when Grandma got sick, when she was given away, how old was she?
She was 10 when Tutu Manoike passed away, so she must have been around 8. I'm gonna look at the dates here. She was born in 1910. The youngest child was born in 1929. So when Mary Melly Hanchett went to, let's see, Mary Kanani Maldoa. Where's that book? I've got the information.
This white one?
Yeah. Because my mother was about 8. She said she was about
okay.
8 when Tutu Manoike passed away. And so she went to Hanamaulu to be raised by Emma.
And was Tutu Manuiki, he was the real main member of the church at the time, no?
Tutulona.
Tutulona was, okay.
Manoike was a cowboy. He was a foreman on the ranch.
Okay,
So he was a cowboy.
okay.
So Bryn comes naturally. Let's see. So your question was,
How old was your mother when she was hanaied out to other family? You say she was like,
well, she was given, here's what happened. When my mother was born, she had 2 brothers before her, born but died in infancy. So she comes along and she is born in Hanalei, and when she was just a few days old, Chung Wong and Mary Kanani Mauloa were at a party in Hanalei, and Tutu Manoike and Mary Melly Hanchett by then had gone to Kalaupapa. So it was Tutu Emma that rode their horse and buggy to Hanalei for Kapa'a, which is a long way to go. So they get to Hanalei and they take the baby, my mother, and they take the road along the beach. So they didn't want anybody to see them. So they brought the baby back home to Kapa'a with them, and they didn't hear from my mother's parents, so they kept her. And they raised her. So.
okay.
So she was a baby when she went to live with her grandfather. Yeah. So she, you know, she just loved him. But then he passed away when she was little, and then she went to live with Tutu Lono.
Okay.
All right. So the other question is, Mary Melly Kapalehua. Okay, here we go. I wanted to add, you see Ana Kelekoma?
Mm-hmm.
When Tutu Manoiki was the foreman on the island of Kauai, the Kauai Wailua Homesteads goes up, and there's an Edgar King Road in Wailua Homesteads. All that area was a ranch owned by a German person named Edgar King. Edgar King forced himself on Mary Nellie Hanchett, and they had a child. The child is Anna. So Anna Kelekoma was born in a convent on the island of Oahu.
The one up on the North Shore, that convent?
No, we don't even know what convent it is. We
Okay.
can't find any records. But she lived there till she was 3 and passed away there.
Mm.
Mary Melly Hanchett was sent to Kalaupapa because Edgar King's wife accused her of having leprosy. And our family doesn't believe she actually had leprosy because she did have a misformed thumb. She had hit it with a hammer, and so it was misformed. But here she has Anna out of wedlock, right? Out of wedlock, well, I don't know what you call it.
Wow.
But then, you know, Manoiki and was so big-hearted, he would have loved to have had her. But by that time, Mary Melly Hanchett was assigned to Kalaupapa. So I know she stayed in, they think she stayed in Kalihi, where they have a waiting area for those going to Kalaupapa. But she changed her name. She did not want she never contacted the family again. And, let's see here. Trying to get. She went to Kalaupapa on August 3rd, 1899. She was born, so she was about 40 something years old. And according to the Kalaupapa birth records, she had a child named William Kaha Jr. So and the father of the child was William Kaha, who was also a patient at Kalaupapa. I haven't been able to get any more information on him, but she was 38 when she had the baby. So I need to back up on that. She was 38 and he was 37. The baby only lived a few months, and it was named William Kaha Jr. And she died, about 1908. So 5 years after that, she died. I don't believe she died of leprosy because it would have taken a while for the leprosy to have developed to the point where it would cause death.
Yeah, okay.
You know, most patients who have leprosy live a long time. and they don't necessarily die of the disease, they die of other complications. And, you know, in my thinking, I think she just died of a broken heart because she's just lost Anna, and now she's lost the baby. And she never, just never really was happy. So that's my feeling anyway.
Right.
And Vince could probably write a good story about this.
You're right on that.
Yeah. I've been in touch with the Kalaupapa Ohana Society to try to get more information, and right now they say they don't really have it. They don't have any more records. I was hoping that maybe she had, you know, a lot of times patients will get their pictures taken, but they don't have any record of that. I do donate money every year to their fund. They're building a huge memorial of every patient
Oh, really?
who went to Kalaupapa. So her name is, but she will be there as Mary Mele Kapalehua. When I started doing research, I was using Hanchek or Kilikoma or something like that, and they said no. And then I just one day was just inspired to try Kapalehua, and within seconds they came back and said we've got a record. So that's the latest on our family.
That's awesome.
Just wanted to catch everybody up, and if you go into Family Search and you see all these other names coming up, you know what the you know our version of the family history is.
Do you have a copy of that? Did you give us?
This is the one I sent. I sent every family.
Okay, we have one. Okay, so that
Yeah.
where you're reading from. Okay, I'll make
And
sure.
this is the one I think we need to update.
Yeah, we need to update it now.
We need to do something to catch up.
We have more
It's been
grandbabies.
2019 was when we did this. So, any questions?
How far back does it go, the lineage? What's the furthest back you've been able to get to as far as a date? Like 1800s?
For the Hawaiians, let's see. We have 1817. Micah Aloha, who would be great. Let's see, 1,
That's pretty far back.
2, yes, it's 1, 3, great, yeah, 4. So, but the Hanchett line goes all the way back to England, 1600s, yeah, 1600 something.
Impressive.
Not very far on the Chung Wong side, huh?
Nope, can't find,
Any records?
we need to look at the immigration records or when he arrived, but I haven't been able to.
I was in Salt Lake several years ago, and they happened to have a Chinese. They were doing at the Family Search Center there, and I connected with a lady who I got her name, and we were communicating for a while because she thought she had some information on the Wong line, but and it
You know, Wong is like Smith.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
So-
she needed the character writing for the Wongs because there's 2 different characters in Salt Lake, and without the right character, the way they write it out is how they can trace that out.
I do have, I have a piece of calligraphy that Akume did, but I'm not sure if it includes his name.
yeah.
Hung Chung Wong was he was actually educated.
He was, and didn't his brother come over with him to Hawaii, right? Didn't he have a brother?
Yeah, I thought there was.
If he did, I know he had a cousin.
He was a cousin. But they say he was an educator, right? And he was
educated.
Didn't you tell us he used to do all their calculating
Yeah.
taxes and whatever?
Well, he would write letters back to China for the other Chinese laborers.
Okay.
So he knew his character. He knew how to write,
Okay.
which would indicate that he had sufficient schooling. But he was a carpenter.
Carpenter, right? That's what I remember hearing.
And my mother detests.
Yeah. It's not very well in the family, right?
No.
He
But-
kind of abandoned the children, yeah?
He didn't like girls.
Hmm.
Didn't like girls. And when Auntie and Mama would be walking on the street, and you know, Kapalehua is really small,
Right.
he would cross to the other side.
And they knew who he was. They would.
Oh yeah, and he knew who they were.
Hmm.
But when we were kids, we used to go down to his house, and he was so nice to us. He would give us all kinds of things. So we only knew him as Akun, and
Maybe
he
you
was a
felt-
nice.
Felt guilty, maybe, yeah?
Yeah, and my dad could speak Chinese to him.
Okay.
So my dad would go and be sure, you know, he would be sure that Akun was all right. My mother would not leave the car or go anywhere near him.
Yeah.
She didn't.
Yeah.
She also
Understandable.
didn't feel good about her mother. She said, I don't know how a mother could give up her children so easily. So she did. I said, what are you going to do when you get to the other side and you meet her? She says, that's going to be a problem. So,
Well, there's so many unanswered, I mean, you wonder what took place and, right,
yeah.
how could somebody, but,
You can never judge.
No, you can't.
know, because you don't know what life was like.
I did hear the story about the bottle of whiskey,
Yeah.
and I got that from, who did I see out there? Oh, I can't remember the name, anyway, that was an interesting story. But it, you know, like I said, at the time, things took place and people were just, you know, what they
Yeah.
do to help raise the kids, and they night to somebody else, whatever, just,
My mother actually was blessed to go and live with Tutulono.
oh yeah.
Because when she went, she was living in Honolulu with Tutu Emma and only spoke Hawaiian.
Oh, really?
She was 7 at that time, and Tutulono said, Mele has to go to school. She needs to go to school because Auntie Sarah was starting school. So Mama went to live with Auntie Sarah, and they went to school together. So Mama and Sarah always were in the same grade, but Mama was a little bit older.
Right.
And you know, then she'd go home and be with Tutu Emma, and Tutu Emma was very, very good with crafts in her hands. She lauhala baskets. She was a quilter. She made all of these hats, woven hats from cane tassel, bamboo, lauhala, and she did feather lace. And she did all of these things. But when she got drunk, and she would always have people come over, she would give everything away. So Mama and Auntie Lizzie would run and hide everything so that she couldn't find them and give them away. And I have her pheasant hat laid, and I have several of those, and I have her hats. So
How old was your mother when she moved to Utah with you?
she was, that was in 2000, she came up in 2002
Okay.
to live with us in Utah.
Okay.
So she was 92, right? She died in 2004? 2004? Yeah, she was 94.
I remember when she passed away.
We had just moved into the Mapleton house. She was so excited. You know, she had a room and she loved the country and she
Right.
could see pheasants outside and all that stuff. And she lived until June, the following June. She passed away. Yeah. And fortunately, Brother and Mary and Tenny and Bobby, no, Bobby didn't come up. It was you, Bobby, Tenny, and you. Mary didn't come, right? When we went to,
Mary did.
yeah. But we were able to go down to all the monuments down in the arches, and we took Mama. That was Memorial Day weekend when it was so cold, and we were pushing her in the chair.
Really nice.
That was the last time we got to see her. Okay, well, I appreciate you going through.
We'll update all of our, and send you updates from the family, get more pictures
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, I think we'll just kind of
Send
do
out,
an overall.
do
to
another, yeah, like we did last time, that
everyone.
worked out good.